There's nothing that can stop you from becoming popular. La, 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 la.
Hey,
la.
everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is obviously Hope.
Glinda.
This is episode 89. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Wicked is out and everyone needs to go see it. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving for all the, Thanksgiving's an American holiday, right?
That is correct, yes.
Yes, so.
Canada has one, but it was in October.
Yeah, it's in October.
So,
I know that from Degrassi. Did you ever watch Degrassi?
No. You know this. You know I haven't. You know I haven't. You know I never will.
I know that you totally have because when we were in college and I was at your house, I think it was during one of the breaks, your sister and I watched Degrassi and you joined us and were in the living room while we were watching it.
All right. I think you have lived with me long enough to know that just because I'm in the living room on the couch while the TV is on does not qualify as Daniel watching something.
Or listening. I could look at you straight in the eyes, you could nod, and then you would be like, what were you saying?
What? So, Hope, did you see a movie this weekend?
I did.
It seems like maybe you want to talk about it for a little bit.
Yes. I could talk about it for like 5 hours.
Let's not.
Okay, let's not. Okay.
That's longer than the movie.
The movie wasn't long enough. It was 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it flew by.
If anybody wants Hope to just rant for however long about Wicked in a special episode, just hit her up on X or Twitter or whatever they call it these days.
Would it be ranting if I'm excited, though? I thought ranting was when you're mad about something.
I think you can rant excitedly about something you enjoy.
I guess so.
I don't know. If anybody wants that episode, just let us know.
Yes. So anyway, I did finally see Wicked, and it was so good, phenomenal, exceeded my expectations and then some. So let me catch you guys up to speed. I've always really loved Wicked. I love the music from Wicked. Unfortunately, I've never got to actually see the Broadway production. My parents weren't exactly Broadway type people, and the way I watched it was often the poor man's way on YouTube. And I know the music. I know that if you guys ever watched the TV show Glee, that kind of also really amped up my love of Wicked because they would often do Wicked songs. Kurt and Rachel just owned the Wicked songs. Actually, some of my favorite covers on Glee were the Wicked songs. So when I knew they were making this movie, I was so beyond excited. And I feel like the marketing campaign for Wicked has been fantastic. They've been amping up the stuff since really like over the summer and beyond. And I had high expectations for this movie. Sadly, though, oftentimes musicals or Broadway musicals that are turned into movies, they often fall short of our expectations. This, like I said, exceeded expectations and beyond. One could say it defied gravity. It was so good. I was singing all the music like the weeks leading up to it, listening to the OG Broadway soundtrack. Now I'm listening to the movie version of the soundtrack, and there's just no escaping. There's no escaping, Daniel.
There isn't.
You're
no
gonna grin and bear
whatsoever.
it. Your newfound popularity.
Her sister was a witch! That's all I know about Wicked.
I feel like that has like become more popular again. That old, that's like from
Bro!
That's from Vine,
Bro.
right?
I have no idea.
I feel like that's like pre-TikTok. I know, someone let us know the origins of that.
No one knows what happened pre-TikTok, so the world is lost beyond that.
I guess not. But Wicked was great. I spared Daniel from seeing it, and I actually took my nephew, spoiled him rotten. If you guys have ever seen that TikTok of like Michael Jackson walking around, he's like, gonna need this, gonna need this, gonna need this. That was us. So I had to buy him lots of merch. I had to get myself lots of merch. I wore my Glinda pink. I even had the official Glinda headband, like the movie official headband that I purchased. The guy at the theater was like, you should really get this tiara and wear this tiara. And I was like, well, tempting, but I think I'm good. I've never bought pillows before at a movie theater. I've always bought snacks, popcorn buckets.
That is a new one. I've never heard of pillows being sold at a movie theater.
Well, they had the Glinda.
Next time I need to replace my bed pillows, I'll just roll up to Regal Cinemas.
I guess so. They had the Glinda and the Alphaba pillow, and My nephew and I obviously needed those. So we got those. And you know what? That's like a good movie purchase. I know I keep talking about it, and you probably think I'm just trying to justify it.
Yes.
It was actually really cozy because they have the full reclining seats there. So like when I was done with my snacks, I got to kind of like hold the pillow and snuggle it. So it was a good purchase. We needed those. We got they could definitely see, because at this point I had bought like lots of merch already that I was getting ready to pay for. And I was getting ready to order like pops for us. And they're like, we actually have the Wicked special exclusive icy flavors. Do you want that instead? So they're like, clearly you saw like sucker written on my face. So we got those. I had to get the popular pink for myself. Gavin got the green apple one. That was my nephew. He got that. And they were so good. I'm not usually an icy person, but I'm starting to think you're onto something.
Icy brand, as in the actual.
And this is what this was.
Because a lot of people will say an icy, but they just mean cold, frosty drink. Icy is an actual thing, and it's top tier movie drink.
This was the actual icy brand. I think the Glenda one was like a dragon fruit, and it was so good. I drank the whole thing. I've never even when I was a kid, like drank all of an icy. And I'm like, maybe Daniel's onto something, that I would always get the blue raspberry, and it wasn't as good as I thought it would, because there's raspberries aren't blue.
Raspberries aren't blue.
So we had to have those, and we also obviously had to have the lantern popcorn buckets that light up. Those are gorgeous. I'm looking at mine right now.
But they didn't put popcorn in it.
Yeah, that was a little weird to me, because I've seen other like pictures. I know like AMC, Regal, Cinemark all did their own like little popcorn things, and I feel like Regal Cinemas had the best merch. Usually I feel like AMC does when I see merch, but Regal knocked it out of the park. And I've seen the pictures on their Instagram with the popcorn in the buckets, but I don't know if it's because the Regal we went to didn't want to take the time to take the plastic off and fill them. My friend's daughter, who used to work there or still works there on breaks or something, she told me when we were talking, because we were obviously talking about Wicked, because Daniel, everybody that's seen Wicked, that's all everybody wants to talk about is Wicked. You need to join the Wicked circle of fun.
I'm good.
And she said it was something because there is like batteries, and from where it lights up, that like the popcorn and the oils, they didn't want people to complain about that or something. So I don't know. We still got popcorn. We just had it separately from the popcorn buckets that we purchased. Oh,
is this the only way movie theaters make money anymore? Is by having add-on merch to go along with the 2 or 3 big movies that seem to only come out a year now?
They see crazy people like me are like, well, we know this lady's going to buy some. And then, so we had all these items, because we also got the Funkos. My nephew is a Funko collector, and then I have a couple Funkos that I like, and I knew when I saw them, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to get him one of those. And then I knew that I wanted the Glenda. I got the Glenda one with her nightgown. That is so cute. So cute. I'm looking at it right now. So adorable. Isn't that cute?
Beyond a belief.
It's just adorable. So perfect. So I knew like that we needed those. So I had all this stuff, and I said, well, especially since I couldn't put the actual popcorn in the buckets, I had to get that like separately, like the way they gave me my popcorn in like a Gladiator bag, which I thought was funny. It's like,
I want to see Gladiator too.
I feel like it looks good from a casting standpoint.
Oh, God.
Anyway, I said, do you have a bag? I asked the girl, and she's like, we don't really have regular bags. She's like, I can get you one of the garbage bags that we use. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to be walking around.
I'm the trash man.
With a garbage bag of all my Wicked merch.
I'd have done it.
Well, thankfully we had plenty. The person, like, I got us the end seats, and we didn't have anybody, like, right beside us. But when it comes to the movie itself, phenomenal. Give this movie all the awards. I really feel like that we are going to get some Oscar nominations. I think we should get some Oscar wins. The cast was perfect. Absolutely perfect. What is it? It was perfect right down to the last second. Cynthia and Ariana absolutely crushed it. They were those characters. I know a lot of people at first, because they just see Ariana Grande as like this pop singer, and they don't realize that she kind of started off doing stuff like this. Like, she was Annie. She has a Broadway background, and I know she has comedic timing from Nickelodeon. And obviously, I know if you've ever listened to her music, she can sing. She can carry a tune. It's not just a, bubblegum pop singer that can carry a little bit of a beat. Like, she is a good singer, and I know she does good impressions from when she goes on Jimmy Fallon and SNL. So I never once doubted the casting. There were some people that questioned it. Anyone that questioned that casting, the joke was on you because she transformed into Glinda. Since you've had to listen to the music on repeat, lucky you, right?
I'm a lucky boy.
Just hearing her sing, what do you think? Like,
yes, she's a very good singer. I never questioned that.
Absolutely knocked it out of the park. But her comedic timing, everything. I mean, when I say she was Glinda, she was Glinda. And then Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba blew my mind as well. I really felt like her emotions almost come through the screen. And then, of course, like Defying Gravity, from what I read, she did like her own stunts in that, and she sang. And they sang live, like while they filmed the movie. And I think that made a huge difference in how it came off on screen as well.
This is the first time I'm hearing that there are musicals out there where they're not singing live as they're filming. And that seems like weird that they would film it, not sing, but lip sync, and then ADR it on top of it afterwards. Now I'm actually okay. I'm gonna say something really crazy here, and everybody needs to just check.
Are you gonna want to see Wicked now?
I'm not crazy. No, actually, it makes me want to go watch other musicals where I know they didn't sing live and watch their lips to see if they, match up.
Well, I'm always down to watch musicals with you,
but probably not.
But maybe.
But probably not.
If you guys get that reference, you get a cookie. So Jeff Goldblum also played the wizard. Anytime Jeff Goldblum's on my screen in whatever role, I always know he's going to knock it out of the park. He could have a bit role on Friends, which he did. Unlimited nights and weekends. Knocks it out of the park. Obviously Jurassic Park. Anything. Independence Day. He's always good. I thought he was so suited to that role. And I fear that my Anthony Bridgerton obsession is fully back to 100%. Because Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero was fantastic. I thought I was almost going to turn into like a puddle of drool during his Dancing Through Life number. I still love you.
You could say it once in a while.
I love you. Bonus, if you get that reference. Jonathan Bailey, so good. Everything was just so great. And the sets looked gorgeous. The choreography was amazing. It was so good. Like, please go see it. And even though we are a spoiler podcast, I don't want to ruin one big surprise moment for everybody. I sort of had that ruined for me, but not completely. I kind of saw that what was going to happen, but I didn't get the full surprise, thankfully. And if you guys have not seen Wicked yet, I want you to have that experience because I audibly gasped, me and some others in the theater. And I cried. Let's see, how many times did I cry? At least 4 times. My nephew was like, "Are you crying again?" I was like, "Yes, I am."
This was his first in-theater movie-going experience with Hope.
I think I went to a movie with him maybe when they were very small, but this was just our aunt nephew kind of
I would say, it was probably a kids movie and you didn't cry, but you cry at kids movies. I mean, you cry at commercials.
Some of that commercial where that guy returns home from war, the coffee commercial is great. I don't remember. It's like a Folgers commercial. I don't even like Folgers coffee. That one makes me sad. But yeah, it was beautiful. The end scene. Okay, so this is not really a spoiler, but basically they haven't been advertising it as a part 1 and a part 2. I actually just talked to my sister-in-law, Hannah, who didn't realize that she's going to have to wait a year for part 2 because she hasn't seen it yet.
At least it's only a year.
See it. I wish we were getting it over the summer. There's no way I'm going to be able to stand a year. But anyway, it ends right after Defying Gravity. So it's basically like our intermission, as if you were seeing the Broadway plays. Like, basically we have like a year. So if you were seeing like the Broadway production, you have your intermission. But now we got a year to wait. And I think they did it that way because I know they're done filming. And I was really hoping that we'd get it like in the summer. But from my understanding, they probably did it that way because then they can compete in 2 different award seasons.
Sure.
So now it's like, a year. So Defying Gravity, that is the big Wicked song. That is what kind of ends it there. And just breathtaking. everything was incredible. The acting, the singing, the emotions, just the view on screen, the cinematography, to use one of your favorite words to describe movies. It was stunning. I was so captivated. I was practically holding my breath during that scene when Cynthia does the line, "In all of Oz," which I'm not going to do it because I'm obviously no Cynthia Erivo. She just, I don't know. I'm almost speechless, even though I know I've not shut up about Wicked since I got home from seeing it. But when it comes to describing that scene, there are no words.
I'm speechless that you just described yourself as speechless for this movie.
There are no words, though, when it comes to describing how phenomenal that scene was. I really think that she and Ariana both deserve at least Oscar nominations. I think they should both win. I think Wicked should win. It's easily movie of the year for me. Like, I know I really liked Deadpool and Wolverine. That was a fun movie, and obviously Inside Out was great. But for me, I have not felt coming out of a theater the way I feel about Wicked since I really saw the Barbie movie. In terms of like the emotional impact that it had on me, one could say it changed me for good.
Is that like a song reference?
Yes, and okay. Everybody, part 2, if I cried this much in part 1, I'm going to be like a puddle on the floor. They kind of do little like instrumental references to Glenda and Alfie's friendship with the For Good music in the background, and I know when they sing that number in part 2, like I'm going to be a mess. I'm going to have to bring more tissues with me. But it was so well done. My nephew and I had a great time. Like I said, I had a great time spoiling him rotten. I just had a blast, and I fear that I am now very much obsessed with Wicked, and that's going to be my new personality for at least 3 months and probably 4 business days.
Well, while you were doing all that, I also had a transformative experience at home.
Oh?
Because while none of us knew this was coming, the Roddenberry Archive Group released an 8-minute short film on YouTube where they brought James Kirk back from the dead to go and meet with Spock one more time and comfort him as he went on to usher him on to the undiscovered country. And it was pretty amazing. I sent you a couple TikTok clips. That apparently
it looked good.
Was not CGI.
Because I think I asked you, I said, did William Shatner come in and film this scene? And they did like the Robert Downey Jr. thing and put the CGI over his face to make him look younger, like they did for the Marvel movies.
No,
and
that's
you said
not. They didn't
prosthetics?
Do that. So Shatner came in. I think they did. It was prosthetics supported by CGI, but it was not just CGI, which is what it looks like. Did he just
do the voice, or did he actually film? Because you told me when I asked you that it wasn't Shatner.
He didn't film.
Filming at all.
He didn't film anything, but I think he helped with it. I think they probably did like some facial scans and some other stuff with that. There was no speaking in it. But it was kind of interesting that it came out. I know, nobody cares about this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Around this time is the 30th anniversary.
You reminded me of the guy on our tour group. I got to interrupt. Remember we were on our way to Spain and we were in college. We were on the bus and he's like, and no one cares about this story. He says it to a bus full of people. He goes, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Do you remember that, David?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it anyway.
Proceed.
This November is the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Generations, which was the final appearance of James Kirk in any Star Trek played by William Shatner, which is crazy to think about because it was also the first Next Generation movie.
Would that have been the one that my dad and
No, that was the one before that.
So my dad and brother saw a Star Trek, and then my mom and sister and I went and saw Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. So what Star Trek did they see that
was
year?
Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. That was the last Star Trek film with the entirety of the original series cast, and also my personal favorite.
Man, we are old.
Yeah, we're old.
Because I was like, 30 years, that must have been the one.
So anyways, one of the things that happened in Generations is Kirk, through plot devices, finds his way to the Next Generation timeline, helps Picard out of a sticky situation, and dies in the process.
Spoiler alert much.
Yeah, for a 30-year-old movie, Star Trek movie that nobody cares about. And, in hindsight, I like that movie a lot more now than a lot I used to, and I think a lot of the internet does. But there was kind of a sour taste to James Kirk kind of going the way he did. It wasn't as satisfactory as you would like to think it would be. So this was kind of a really interesting way for them to try and wrap it up by showing kind of essentially he was transported to the Kelvin universe, which is where the original Spock ended up, and
J.J. Abrams one's
yeah,
right.
yeah, and was able to be there with him because he died in that universe, and was able to be there with him in his last moments and comfort him along into the afterlife.
Why is it called the Kelvin universe if it's J.J. Abrams that did it? I don't know why it's called that.
Do you really want to know the answer to this question?
Give me the too long didn't read version.
The ship at the beginning of the first Star Trek Kelvin universe was called the USS Kelvin, and its destruction is what separated the timelines.
You know what I hope they do? I hope that Strange New Worlds separates it in its own timeline, because I want them to keep doing seasons with that, and I want to see Paul Wesley have the journey of James T. Kirk.
I'm fine with that because I'm on the other side of timelines. Just do what you want.
Somebody who always complains about time travel is now on the other side of timelines.
It's not time travel. It's timelines.
Timeline. Oh, I see.
It's two different things.
Well, you've certainly, for someone that's not interested in Wicked, you've asked me a lot of questions about how the Wicked and Wizard of Oz connect.
I'm just trying to mess with you. Hey, everybody!
Dancing Through Life, though.
What's that mean?
Dancing Through Life.
Is that another song
that I've also been singing?
Okay. No, I'm not. I am being dragged by the back of a horse that is constantly using the bathroom on me through life right now.
Did you know that Jonathan Bailey, who plays Fiyero, his horse that he uses in Wicked, that is the same horse that was his horse in Bridgerton?
I know, you've told me.
So basically, when you talk about Star Trek, is how you feel. I feel like you feel when I talk about Wicked.
Yeah, I love Star Trek. I love talking about it. Unfortunately, I wish I could say our next topic is something I wanted to talk about more. Because, hey, everybody, it's time to talk about Christmas movies. And I'll tell you what, everybody, Netflix is just like they didn't just throw their hat into the ring of making bad Christmas movies. They jumped into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
I didn't think Hot Frosty could be topped. But, boy, let me tell you something. The Merry Gentleman, what a steaming pile.
Now, I want to call you out because when we were talking, we were watching one of the Hallmarks over the weekend, one of the many, and you were like, well, Hot Frosty was bad, but it was actually so bad that it was entertaining and fun, and you agreed with me about that, and now you're trying to say that Hot Frosty is just bad. So which is it, Daniel?
It was bad, but it wasn't good. But it wasn't bad in the way that this one was.
Yeah. Hot Frosty was so bad, it was entertaining, and am I going to watch it every year? Probably. This one, I'm gonna agree with you that The Merry Gentleman was not good. The only good part about it was watching Chad Michael Murray's body as he danced. I find it interesting that his name was Luke, since he's best known for playing Lucas Scott on a little show called One Tree Hill. I feel like they were like, you know what, we're going to just give this to millennial women, and hopefully Chad Michael Murray will be the selling point. And I have seen Chad Michael Murray in Hallmark movies before where he put more acting into the role, and I feel like he was just like, I'm here to look good.
All right. My name's Luke. Do we want to do this the way we normally do it with me poorly recapping?
Sure, city boy.
Oh man, you took it. I was going to say it. So we start on a dance thing. I think it's supposed to be kind of like the Rockettes in New York City, in the big city.
Britt Robertson's character is basically a Rockette.
And we meet her, and she's a city girl, and but then she's fired from her job because she's too old. So she goes home to nondescript Midwest place, and her family there owns a bar.
It's like a bar performing club or something. I'm not really sure.
The Rhythm
Room.
And
I think that's what it's called.
She apparently has not been home in a really long time because over the course of the beginning of the movie, she finds that they're not doing well financially. And so she decides to hatch a plan to bring them out of this financial doom. And the very first idea she comes up with is men with their shirts off dancing in front of ladies. And the men, Luke in this case, and a couple other, who they're immediately on board.
Well, Luke is like a handyman that moved to the city to be with his wife, who he's now divorced from because she left him, and he's been helping her parents out.
Okay.
Which her parent, Aunt Zelda, is her mom.
Right, but no, none of the men. We got 4 or 5 men that end up dancing.
There's like the bartender that works there.
The bartender, Luke. There's her sister's husband.
Uber driver.
And her Uber driver, and then the old guy at the bar.
Oh!
Every single... No, wait, before you get there, every single one of these men, they're asked Immediately, they're like, yeah, absolutely, I'll get on there.
Like,
and
no conflict
no
at all.
conflict whatsoever.
Like, sure, I'll take my clothes off.
Okay, talk about the old guy at the bar.
Now, they don't get completely naked. They keep it PG. Okay, so the old guy at the bar is played by Maxwell Caulfield, who is in the iconic Better Than the OG, Fight Me, because it's the best, Grease 2. He is in Grease 2. He is Michael Carrington.
I'm not a Grease fan at all, but I feel like you are on... And you are in an extreme minority of people who say the second one is better than the first one.
That stand Grease 2, and we think it's better. I want a cool rider.
Could you talk for 5 hours about why Grease 2 is better than Grease?
Yes, I'll write like a dissertation on it.
So anyways, the men do their dancing. The ladies of the town love it. They show up every night. Or it's unclear to me how many performances go on. Well,
she's home at the beginning of December, so I think it's like every night in December. But can we talk about how these are supposed to be like average small town men, and they all have like insanely amazing bodies? Like they all have like chiseled abs. Even like Maxwell Caulfield, he's been working out for his age because I think he's like in his 60s now. Like that's not.
I felt very, very body shamed as a man.
That's not the men you'd see kicking around a small town for this production. I think they should have at least gotten one like dad bod,
just for a joke.
Yeah,
not a chest hair in sight.
They should have had at least one dad bod type on the stage. But yeah, at one point we're like not even halfway through the movie, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't the conflict getting him to the show.
So
I'm
then
like,
the conflict is just like.
Happen?
Her old boss in New York calls her back, and the young replacement for her couldn't handle it, so she's going to go back to New York and do the show. Luke gets all upset. She decides not to. She comes back in. They save the day. Yay!
Because his wife left him and went back to the city and decided she didn't like the small town life. Now, can we talk about, so the city girl. How often did that annoy you?
I mean, he said it every other line, it seems
And all I heard...
I'm not sure he knew her name.
I don't know her name. I don't remember her name. I know Britt Robertson played her. But all I could think about the whole time with his delivery of City Girl, so on One Tree Hill, do you remember he would always call Brooke Pretty Girl? And he would say it with the same inflection. This is a shout out for all the Brucas fans, since I know we were hard on you the last time since we talked about Leighton. But Lucas Scott would always call Brooke, hey, pretty girl, from like season 1. Like, even I feel like when they were like broken up, he still, I think, called her that sometimes, which if I had been paying, I would have been like, really? But he always called her pretty girl, and every time he said city girl, that's all I heard in my head. And then I read an interview, right, with Chad Michael Murray after that. He asked for his character or something to be named Luke because he likes to do it as a wink to the fans. Because he knows that me, a One Tree Hill fan, even though I was a Nathan Galley, I wouldn't have said no to Lucas, like that I'm going to watch this trash pile of steaming garbage movie. And this y'all, it's not one that's so bad it's good and funny like Hot Frosty. It is truly bad.
This was like a mid or low tier Hallmark movie.
I would call it like worse than Hallmark
Like the
movies.
conflict barely exists. The story was held together so tentatively. Like,
and can we talk about her hair? Britt Robertson has short hair, and I don't know why they can't just let these leads have short hair. So they had wigs that looked like they went down to the local Party City and plopped a wig on her head. Like, you didn't notice that as much. It was dry, but once I pointed it out to you, you couldn't unsee it, right? How bad her hair looked.
What just strikes me about this movie is like, I'm from a small town, and I can tell you right now, if the local rhythm room decided to just start having male dancers going around, there'd be people in town that have problems with it.
Yeah, maybe they're not in like the
Midwest or Appalachia. Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe
I don't know.
Like it's
they're not in the Bible Belt
area. I guess so. Yeah.
But people would have a problem with it, and finding that it's just so much of it depended on things that just made no sense whatsoever.
And her parents just went right along with it too. So they're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't seem concerned.
Her sister was played by the girl that plays Gia on Full House, which we had an argument about how popular she was. I don't think she's Sarah Michelle Gellar level popular, but she was in a lot of stuff in the 90s. She played Stephanie's best friend that was caught smoking in the bathroom on Full House. What else did she do? She dated James Franco for like a really long time. She was in that movie Whatever It Takes. She played Joey's sister, the one that's like Enda by You. On Friends. So she's had a lot of different little roles. I thought she looked pretty good.
But Sarah Michelle Gellar level role?
No, I was not thinking properly when I said that. I apologize. I was wrong. That was incorrect.
I wasn't going to call you out, but you brought it up.
I was incorrect. I can't really think of anybody that would like compare. But she was like, sort of decently, maybe like D-level famous.
She had bit parts in the 90s.
Yes.
That's nothing to remember.
Well, she was the lead in Whatever It Takes.
What's that?
I just said Whatever It Takes. That movie with Shane West, James Franco. It's a very good movie and one of my favorite like teen movies.
What did it take?
Oh, I'm just gonna smack you.
Okay. So that's Netflix for you, and I'm praying that they don't have any more left to give us.
Okay, can I just say, well, one, they do. The Lindsay Lohan and the guy that played Ezra on Pretty Little Liars is doing a movie, and theirs looks really funny, and I have high hopes for that. I also, have you seen the way Lindsay Lohan has been looking lately? I need to know the name of her doctor who's doing her Botox, because she looks phenomenal. And they have done a great job. People are like, can we talk about all the work Lindsay Lohan has done? And I'm like, yes, because I need to get the number of that man. Like, you probably don't watch the TikToks I send you, do you?
No.
Okay. So just bravo for that. So we'll have to watch that one. But some of the other Netflix Christmas movies, there's just like this Princess series that was a trilogy that Vanessa Hudgens did. Those were amazing. Well, maybe not amazing, but they were pretty good. They were pretty good. And she did one with like, it was called like The Night Before Christmas, where this knight came to life, like a knight, K-I-N-I-G-H-T. And I really liked that one. K as in knife. K as in knife. But yeah, Hot Frosty's still leading the
Somebody at Netflix has been watching Hallmark movies, and then they said, wait, we don't have to pay nearly as much money to make these movies and still have a bunch of people come watch them. That's what's happened here.
True. Well, we have watched a lot of Hallmark movies. So I'm going to pull up my app here.
Movies. I'm hyping myself up here to try and recall the plot of most of these films.
So for these Hallmark movies, again, I encourage you, annual PSA, I know I've already done it this year, to get their app, because then you can check off the ones that you have watched. So we talked about 'Twas the Day Before Christmas previously. Well, we have watched a lot since then. I'm going to talk about 2 that I watched without you, 3 actually, and then we can talk together. And I'm gonna keep it brief because the ones that I watched without you were not great. I watched the 5-Year Christmas Party. I chose this one because Jordan Fisher, who sings "Ready to Begin," the Happily Ever After theme song, he also played the Flash's son on the CW show The Flash. I chose this because he was in it. I chose poorly because it was not good. It was basically a situationship for 5 years of these friends, and it was awful. It took me forever to get through that one. Now, I also watched Holiday Crashers. That was good. Basically, like, these girls, she was supposed to go to law school, but then she did, but then she decided not to take, like, her, what is it, the LSAT? And so she's working at this greeting card place with this other girl. So they get these, like, cards, invitations that they do for holiday parties. So they decide that they're going to, like, crash the parties. But then she meets this, like, guy who's, like, rich and a CEO of some company. Shenanigans ensue. It was decently entertaining, but I really, honestly, I can't remember what else happened in that one. And then you started this one with me, and I finished it. I watched Confessions of a Christmas Letter. So if you're fans of The Office, you might like this one because...
Oh, I could not bear this.
Angela, you were there when Kevin showed up, right?
Yes, I was there.
It stars Angela from The Office, but then Kevin from The Office works at, like, the post office. So basically...
You didn't realize what his voice actually sounded like.
No. I'm like, he doesn't sound like Kevin in real life. Like, I know the actor that plays Stanley sounds different, but I didn't realize he did. Because she sounds kind of the same. Yeah. So basically in that one, they have like a neighborhood contest who can write the best Christmas letter, which I think is insane. And like the neighborhood like head lady, like she always wanted to beat her and she always did terrible. And then her husband, bless his heart, he was such a supportive man. He's like sarcastically says like, why don't you write this author that I like and tell him to come help you? So she does. And he's like in a writing rut. And his abuelo is like, yeah, he'll come do this. So he just goes off to this random town to help these people write their Christmas letter. And Daniel, spoiler alert, he did get with her daughter. Remember how we were like...
I wondered if that was going to be the case.
And I did like that little like subplot romance because he was pretty cute. So just shenanigans ensue. Then we find out the lady that had been winning the competition all along, it was her husband that wrote the letters. She didn't even write them. And then obviously...
Did they ever describe what they mean by best and like what, like how do you
like
write,
best
how
written,
do you win?
It has to be the best written, not necessarily like bragging like what people... Okay, I like reading Christmas letters, but sometimes people do brag in them. So that's not what it meant, like who's accomplished the most, but it was also like the best written. Does that make sense? So
no.
Angela from The Office, no, got it. So Angela from The Office like decides, that her family, while it's not very perfect, it's great the way it is, and she finally writes a letter from the heart, and she doesn't have to use the author guy's help, but then he's inspired to like finish his book, and he gets with the daughter. It's very happy ending all around, and those are the ones that I have watched without you. Are you ready
mercifully
to talk about ones we watched together? Let's go ahead and kick it off with the good one that we watched the day it aired. I usually don't do that with Hallmark movies. This one is a sequel to Three Wise Men and a Baby, and it is Three Wiser Men and a Boy. It has Tyler Hynes, my favorite Hallmark male lead, Paul Campbell, who was in Battlestar Galactica, and I have to bring it up every time. And then it has Andrew Walker, and who is
Pencil
Andrew
Man,
Walker?
back again.
The guy that Daniel thinks looks like a pencil and mentions it every year.
If you watch any of these movies and you see him and you do not agree that he looks like a pencil, just go ahead and fan mail me. Like, let me know. But I'm going to tell you right now, you will see him and you will go, by the end of the movie, you will go, yeah.
He kind of does. Like a
because I've got you on board. Yeah, I've got you on board.
And I still think he's cute, so I guess in that way a pencil is cute.
I didn't say, it's a freshly sharpened pencil. I didn't say it was like dulled out from writing or anything.
We're taking a really weird path. But Blair Waldorf's mom, and also who plays Connie in Independence Day, plays the boy's mom, so she reprises her role. And we have a 5-year time jump, because at first I was very concerned about that. I was like, okay, this movie premiered in 2022? And I'm like, the baby is already 5. What? But they totally addressed that for people like me, who's very concerned about time.
That kid was 5?
Yeah. Well, no, maybe he's like 6 because it's a 5-year time jump. I don't know his age. Remember, the play was K through 5. All right, yeah. So Daniel, you take it off and you do the summary.
I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's like the boy's mother goes off for a Christmas time conference somewhere, so she's out of town, and Pencil Man is in charge of helping out at the K through 5 Christmas pageant.
Well, it's because the brothers, Tyler Hynes' character Taylor,
he's
and Stefan, they knocked over all the sets.
So they all knock over all the sets, and now they're in charge. And at the same time, the gamer boy brother is like
Taylor.
Losing his job, losing his house. So he's like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't have anywhere to live.
And he's the only one that's not with his girl from the first one.
Yeah, he's not with his girl.
She's broke up with him, clearly. It's never addressed.
Billy from Battlestar Galactica,
yes.
He's having trouble with commitment, even though he's been with the woman for 5 years, but it's clear he's still a little nervous about taking that next step. So anyways, they all convince the gamer guy and convinces everybody that they're going to go move in with their mom for a week.
For Christmas.
And to help the kid out with the holiday pageant, and he also meets a female friend at the holiday pageant
who's like him,
who's like a little bit more his speed, I'd say. And so yeah, they help with the pageant. And
what about the plot with the mom
has a new boyfriend,
a pastor.
I just want to say Pastor Dave is all I want to say.
That's all I think about.
That's all I think about.
Pastor Dave. We're not doing, what does she say? We're not doing presents, we're going to go around the room. Is it? No, it's Pastor Phil.
See, I'm thinking Dave. Pastor Dave from that 70s show.
We're thinking about two different.
We're thinking about different Christmas pastors.
I'm thinking about Pastor Phil when he makes them do the pageant with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon up there. Woman, do your job and swaddle this baby.
And so the guys don't like that either, and so they give him a hard time. But in the end, everything is okay. The pageant goes off as a
a hit,
as well of a pageant with that age of kids could go. And gamer guy gets together with the girl. Billy from Battlestar Galactica proposes to his girl, and then the mom that abandoned her kid in the first movie shows back up again after her Christmas pageant to be there for Christmas Day, and they're all happy.
And they're all cool with Pastor Roy. Can I just say that Pastor Roy would have bugged me too, because he's a nice guy and their mom has found a nice guy, but he was really inserting himself a lot into traditions.
He did bring in the Christmas tree.
That would have made me mad.
It would have made me mad if somebody came over and hauled our Christmas tree out of the basement to put it up.
He didn't even ask them. He just surprised
But he didn't ask, yeah.
People are peculiar about their traditions. It was almost like he was very much a try-hard, and he would just always show up, and I know he's being helpful. My favorite brother is still Taylor, the grumpy gamer one. I do wish they would have at least addressed what happened to his, woman from the first one.
I don't even remember her, so.
She had the curly hair, the blonde curly hair.
You could just keep on going. You could draw a picture and I wouldn't remember.
It was such a memorable movie, though. I felt like it was very good, though. It's probably my favorite one they've done so far because I like the shenanigans. I feel like these 3 male leads work well together.
What do you mean the best one they've done so far? Like this year?
This year.
You think this was better than the one where they go on the Christmas, like, what is it? We're going to talk about it. The scavenger hunt one.
Scavenger hunt one. The one that I watched with the bar trivia?
No, not the bar trivia one.
The Christmas Olympics?
The Christmas Olympics? No, the one.
Which scavenger hunt one?
They're in Chicago, and then they drive around the Great Race kind of one.
Oh,
is that one on our list to talk about today,
yes.
or did we already talk about that?
No,
they all blend together so much.
Because Pencil Man is in that one.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. You think that this one is better than that one?
What was that one called? The Jingle Bell Run?
Yeah, the Jingle Bell Run. You think this one's better than that
one? Yes.
You're wrong.
I only like it just because I like that it's a sequel. I don't know. They're probably
that right there is teaching Hallmark all the wrong lessons. Now soon
I want a trilogy.
Soon they're going to get to the place where they're not even making new ones; they're just making sequels to the ones they've already made, and it's just this race to the bottom.
I want 3 wisest men and a teen because we never got that with the 3 men and a little lady and a baby franchise. Think of what could have been.
Okay, at some point though, they have to give a time break on this movie because if they're going to do teen, they got to give these Pencil Man and the other trio a chance to age a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe they're from the same town as the Chad Michael Murray people that just look really good and all fit from the Merry Gentlemen. I think you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like
you just completely forgot about the other one.
I did.
Everybody,
so many.
I just want to make sure it's all very clear that Daniel remembered one of these holiday Hallmark.
Classics.
You know what? Actually, I'm not making the point I think I'm making here. Go on.
No, you remembered it more than I did. It made quite an impression on you. I don't know. I would say I think you're right. I just forgot about it. I'm glad these movies are particularly memorable for you. So with that, let's kick things off with Jingle Bell Run. Ashley Williams and again Mr. Andrew Walker, Pencil Man. Kick us off with the plot as best you can.
Ashley Williams is a teacher?
Yeah, she's a teacher.
She
really likes crossword puzzles.
Really likes crossword puzzles.
But she never travels anywhere.
She never goes anywhere or does anything.
She likes history.
Dead husband, dead fiance?
I don't think they mentioned that.
Okay,
at all.
she's single.
I don't remember.
So, shocker. Her sister enters her in a contest and she wins. So she's going on a Christmas scavenger hunt around the country, kind of like a greatest.
It's like the Amazing Race.
Amazing Race. That's what I was trying to think of.
And you and I were disappointed because we were hoping that they would do like a Jingle Bell Run, like a marathon, which you can pitch your idea for that movie later. So go on.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I would be a great writer of these movies, which is not the brag I'm thinking it is. So she goes to the gym for like 3 days before this thing starts to try and get in shape. She meets Andrew Walker's character there. They don't like each other. And then
he's a hockey player.
He's a hockey player, retired. They get to the race start day, and they throw all the contestants through a loop that it's actually going to be teams this year. They're randomly matched, and guess what?
What?
They get matched up as a team, and then they go on, they get their clues, and they go do their thing, and they start to like each other. But then the producers of the show from The Bachelor show up and be like, hey, we need you, Pencil Man, to boo this teacher up.
I'm falling in love with
because we need some drama. We need to juice the drama on this show. And so it's unclear to me if he really participates. He never overtly does it, in my opinion.
I think he was already starting to like her at that point, but he's also trying to revive his career. So he was like, but I don't think he really does it. I think he's basically like he actually is falling for her.
Yeah.
Because at one point, like he does tell the producer that he's not going to say what they wanted him to say.
So that gets to the end of it.
She heard the wrong part of the conversation.
She hears the wrong part of the conversation. That's the drama at the end. They resolve it by having a conversation and communicating with each other like every single one of these movies ends. And then they end up winning the race. And instead of taking all the money for themselves, they donate it all back to the other,
Well, they took some of the money, but then they gave
only $1 million, and after tax, they're only getting like $500K.
They really like Mean Girls at the end where Katie Heron splits the tiara. Yeah. What they did
to some of the other contestants. And that is that.
I think like what ends up happening is she wants to do something with like books at school. I don't remember, or math.
Yeah.
I don't know, something with their school.
Books at school. He wants to start a developmental hockey league, which is like,
so
I'm like, in Chicago? Are you telling me there's not already 50 developmental hockey leagues in Chicago?
But maybe his wants to reach like low income kids. I don't know. And then like the other contestants that were paired together, the chef, was he a chef?
They both are chefs because
yeah,
they ended up wanting to start a restaurant together.
And they got together.
Yeah.
And then the other, this is the one woman that was like a mother figure, and then the girl that wanted to be, what did she want to be? Like a playwright or something?
Yeah.
But she couldn't say barista. What did she call it?
Barista.
A barista?
Yeah.
And you and I were like, honey. But that mom, her daughter died.
Yeah, and dead daughter, drink.
And that's why they were like, and so they did like a scholarship. They set up a scholarship in the daughter's name because that's what they were going to do.
Right.
So they all kind of split the money. But you're right. That one, if I had to think about it, that one was more entertaining than Three Wiser Men and a Boy. I just think I was so excited for that sequel. So it's still going to rank higher for me.
I mean, it had its holes.
You're all over the place with these movies, though, because you were insistent that 'Twas the Day Before Christmas was the best Hallmark one, and now you're saying the Jingle Bell Run is.
What one's that?
'Twas the Day Before Christmas is the one we talked about with Clay from One Tree Hill.
Oh, see, as soon as we talk about them on the podcast, I just purge them.
That was the one
mind.
with the Christmas Olympics.
I just get rid of them.
You were like adamant that was the best Hallmark one.
Well, it's not anymore.
Far.
Now it was then.
No, I asked you on Sunday which one, and then you were like, actually, I think Hot Frosty's the best out of all of them. And I'm like, Daniel, I think you're just messing with me. That's what you're doing. You are messing with me. I can't believe this. Please.
What's next?
Let's see here. What is next? I'm looking all through my little list right now.
That would be a blessing.
Okay, Trivia at St. Nick's. That's the one we watched this weekend, where they are like, well, he's like a football coach. She's like an astronomy professor, and they all compete in this like Christmas trivia competition. She doesn't like that the school allocates money to the football team. He doesn't do buffet etiquette right, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So they kind of argue. They have to win.
And I want to just sit here and suggest to everybody that her suggestion of buffet etiquette is correct.
See, I think she's a little bit wrong. It just depends on the situation. Because if I'm at like a big buffet, like that way that was, and you only want one thing and you don't want to stand in the line, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. Like, excuse me, I just want to get like a piece of chicken.
What if you were getting everything though, like your first time through the buffet?
Yeah, she's right in that situation.
Wait. I want to get you with the hypothetical. You're in line because you are going through your first time, so you want to see what everything is there. But you look ahead a little bit, and here's something up here that you really want. But then right before you get there, a couple people up from you is one of those line skippers and go in and they take the last one, and you don't get one on your first round because they haven't restocked it yet.
Or I would say, usually if it's like at most buffets, they're quickly to come in, and I know I'm going to get a fresher piece anyway that less people have touched. You know what? I'm on the other side of buffets. Anyway, I didn't care for this one very much. I thought it was kind of annoying.
It was fine. You know what really irritated me about, and maybe this is just like my innate sexistism. It was really odd to me that he didn't know how to change a tire.
That is sexist.
But everybody should know how to change a tire. I was really hoping when that they were going to turn it on us, and she was like, "You don't know how to change a tire," because she asked him, "You don't know how to change a tire," and I was like, "Okay, now get out and change it." And I thought that would have been awesome, but then they didn't go that way. Instead, they wait for the mechanic to show up.
They had to have the conflict that they missed
that
round
the
of
thing.
trivia.
Yeah, I know.
I wish they had just done a movie where they give the trivia and we could participate, because I wanted to play. Like, I wanted to play along with.
Yeah, but it was bad trivia because like one of it was for that fake made up university, and it's like I don't know how anybody ever wins at this trivia game.
I don't know,
because
it was a stinker.
They had some categories that just seemed ridiculous.
I'm done talking about it. You want to keep going?
All right, cool. Yeah, that's fine.
Do you have anything else to say?
I don't. I'll
You're
stop.
getting very passionate about this one.
I'll stop.
All right. Now, I watched most of this, and then you joined in at the end. This Santa Tell Me, that's the that show. Did you hear that?
No.
Somebody was excited on a motorcycle outside, maybe for this movie. Santa Tell Me. That had, I think her name's Erin Krakow. I can't say her name. She is on the show that I don't watch on Hallmark. I know your mom watches it because she told me about it. Called When Calls the Heart. And like her her husband and baby daddy on that show, because it takes place in like Little House on the Prairie times, I think. Like he was like what are the Canadian people called? Like Mounties? That's what they're called.
Are you talking about this Christmas movie?
No, I'm talking about the actors, what show they're on, because there's a whole.
Yes,
this
Mounties.
is why people were
Okay.
excited about this one. So, but like he wanted that actor wanted to be off that show, so they killed his character off. So like everybody was,
As you do.
I guess that watches the show was really upset about it. But he is in this movie as the leading male with like the leading male to like her female counterpart. So it was like a really big deal to a lot of Hallmark fans that watched that. So I was going somewhere with this. Again, I don't watch When Calls the Heart. I know your mom does. She has a lot of opinions on it. So his name's Daniel Lissing. That is his name. I've seen him in other Hallmark movies. I've always liked the one. He's in one of the ones about like not a December bride. One of the bride ones that you don't like because you don't like the ones where they get married at Christmas. Anyway, basically she writes this letter to Santa when she's a kid. And she basically says like, I want to meet, my husband. I want to meet Mr. Right and have this magical love story as like an 8-year-old child. And then, we have a time jump and now she's like a woman in her 30s and she is working at this home shopping network, kind of like a QVC thing or like a lifestyle network. And she gets in charge of like hosting their Christmas remodel show. But then it turns out she has to host with him. And he does this show called like Models in a Model Home with like actual like supermodels. And she's like, how stupid. So they have to work together. Obviously it starts off as like, I don't like you, you don't like me kind of thing. And he's like, what we're going to do is we're going to remodel your childhood home. So she and her sister are out scouting the place and they hear magical bells and they find her letter. And then magical ink comes to life to reveal a letter from Santa saying that she will meet a Nick, somebody named Nick, that's going to be like her Mr. Right by like December 24th. So right after she gets this magical letter from Santa, she has 3 different meet cutes with 3 different men named Nick. One in a coffee shop. Then she meets another one. I don't remember how she met the other one now. I can't remember. She meets 3 different Nicks. Oh, one's like a carpenter that was going to work on her set. So she meets 3 different Nicks. And she goes on these 3 different dates. Something goes wrong on each of the dates. Like one of them, she accidentally like poisoned him with like a cookie with nuts in it, which I don't think that's a very funny thing to joke about because you can like die from that. Like if you have a nut allergy. The other one, she like accidentally like popped the champagne cork in his eye. And then the other one, they were at this like fair thing and she accidentally hit him in the head with a ball. So it's all going disastrous. So she's trying to figure out. She kisses one of the Nicks. That's like the doctor, who I thought was really creepy that he set up this like private ice skating date to begin with at the beginning. I'm like, coming on a little strong, boy. But all this time she's working with this guy and they start to have a connection. But he does not go by Nick. I think he goes by Chris. And it's like he's not.
Well, I don't go by Nick either. So
he's not Santa's son. So they didn't go in that direction. But then she realizes these men aren't for her, and she's like going to disregard the magical letter. We have a train station scene, and then come to find out what's his actual name that he doesn't go by.
Nick.
I
gotta say
so Santa was
right.
right.
I gotta say something right here. I hate how Hallmark pilled my brain has become that as soon as we find out his name is Chris, both of us are like instantaneously are like, maybe he's Santa's son.
Well, they've done a movie about that on Hallmark where she dated Santa's son.
Such a broken man that's where my mind goes when I hear this stuff in these movies.
I will say I did really like this one. It was that classic Hallmark formula. And sometimes, and I know that they've deviated, and I've enjoyed some of the different. They found they're almost close to finding a second plot. This is kind of more the traditional one. I did really like this one. I thought it was funny, and that the acting was good in it. You only watched like the tail end of it. What did you think?
Boring.
All right. And then another one that we watched
There's more?
together. Yeah, I think so.
Oh my Lord.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot about this one. This is the last one we have to talk about.
Okay.
This was the one with the aunts from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Holiday Mismatch. It had Beth Broderick and Caroline Ray in it. They played Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina, like from the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Her aunts. So we have there is a romance plot. Basically, it's like, here, you go. You're much better at the plots than I am. So take us away, Daniel. Go back in time. Remember this movie.
All right. There's these 2 old ladies.
They look good for their age.
One of them runs the Christmas festivities in town. The other one just retired from her high-paying CEO's
she was like
accounting
a lawyer
job.
Or something, right?
She was an accountant.
Oh, an accountant. Okay.
And she got volunteered to help with the Christmas committee. They clash because they're 2 different styles of people, laid back versus uptight. B-plot.
They were basically their characters from Sabrina. Because Hilda was always like the laid back one and Zelda was uptight.
B-plot, they're also trying to get their kids hooked up. Not with each other, but in general.
And their kids are the opposite personalities of them.
They are. And so they get on apps and fake to be their kids and end up setting their own kids up with each other's kids. And then they're like, oh, and then they actually start liking each other, so they want to break them up. But then the kids realize that they're trying to break them up, so they try to date harder. And so it's a we know they know, we know situation.
I don't think the kids knew that they were actively trying to break them up, though. I think
they were trying to stay together.
They were fake dating to get their parents off their
backs. And the parents, when they found out that it was each other's kid, worked together to break them up. But that brought everybody closer together in the end.
The mom started getting close.
And then they all lived happily ever after.
And then there was a little bit of a conflict with the kids at one point, but then everything was good. I loved it because I like seeing those actresses on screen together. It's like a comfort for me because I always liked Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And like they basically did like play themselves. And they made a Sabrina reference at the end. She's like, "What are you, a witch or something?" And I'm like, "Oh, that was for us. That was for all the elder millennials that love Sabrina the Teenage Witch from the old TGIF days." What did you think? You always say that you want a Hallmark movie to be different and off script. So what did you think? Because this was different.
I wish it would have been different, but not like this. This movie would have been better if the A plot was the son and the daughter getting together, and the moms were the B plots.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that would have been just more of a normal Hallmark movie. I guess you're really starting to become a fan. Now, you told me while we were watching this that you used to think that Aunt Zelda was hot in the 90s. Do you think she's aged well?
Absolutely.
Because she was also the mom in, let's circle back, in the Merry Gentleman movie. You realize that, right? That she played...
Oh, yeah. She's still hot. No notes.
On that note, I feel like that's all we've watched so far. It's been a lot, though.
That's it? That's all? We just talked about like 6 movies. That's it?
Yeah, we're on top of our game this year. There's still several to go, though. I always have my goal to finish all of them, and I never do. Maybe this year I will actually achieve that. We have watched some shows, though.
I promise everybody she doesn't have me in a straitjacket or anything watching these movies. Help.
You like them to a point. You do have fun when you watch them.
Yes.
Sometimes, though, I've noticed this. When I say engage, I don't mean interrupt. And he'll just, like, yap the whole time while I'm trying. I'll be like, ask me 50 questions. And I'm like, okay, I want you to participate.
Next time you get on me for that, I'm just going to remind you that you asked for this.
Okay. Can we talk about
shows? We got a bunch of shows we've been watching. We're not going to talk about all of them tonight. Shrinking, What We Do in Shadows, Abbott Elementary. Those are ongoing. Ghosts. Those are ongoing. So we're going to kind of probably some of them are going to wrap up before the end of the year, and so we'll talk about them then. The other ones that go on hiatus, we'll probably talk about them once their hiatus begins. But we did finish one since we talked to everybody last, and that is the Frasier reboot, Season 2.
Yes, and at this time, there are no announcements for Season 3. That being said, since the season didn't premiere until like late September, they say sometime. I think it did take a little bit of time for Season 2 to be announced.
I'm not concerned at this point. Like, it hasn't been too long. I don't think it's a big... like I said, I don't know that they're going to get a third season, but I'm not concerned that there hasn't been an announcement yet.
I would like a third season, but I won't be devastated if we don't get a third season. So what do you think about Season 2 compared to Season 1? What were some highs? What were some lows?
I thought overall Season 2 had more high points than Season 1, and I think it had less low points. Now, that's not to say that it was anywhere close to the original Frasier. I think it's kind of unfair to a certain extent to even hold it to that metric. But I thought overall, I thought this season was better. I thought they honed in a little bit more on each other's characters. I thought David had a little bit more of an actual personality other than just annoying kid.
Yeah, it seemed like the first season they tried to make him almost like Sheldon Cooper 2.0, and that's never how Niles was.
Yeah.
So I understand he wasn't supposed to be a Niles or a Daphne copy, but I agree with you. He was less annoying. I felt like, I'm going to agree with you about Season 2 being better. I felt like the writing felt more intelligent, like the writing of not just sound elitist, but like the writing felt more akin to the original series.
Yeah, at a minimum, the writers actually like watched a couple of classic episodes of the original series and at least tried to mirror some of the setups and things that they did there. Like I said, they didn't necessarily land them as well as the original series did, but they got closer.
And we got more Roz this season, which I think she's fantastic as Roz, and I think that helped. I think that Alan and Olivia's characters got fleshed out a little bit more. Alan's one of the funniest ones.
Yeah, I like Alan a lot. I think he is a foil for Frasier in the same, in a vein of how Niles was, but not Niles.
But not the same.
He's not Niles.
And we don't want a carbon
copy.
No,
we don't.
Of Niles.
And I thought that was refreshing. I did really, and I think you might have a different opinion on this. I liked the episode where they went back to Seattle and saw how much.
Why would you think I didn't have an episode?
Well, because they didn't give you everything. You were disappointed that Cafe Nervosa looked different.
Oh yeah,
you were disappointed.
I was like Frasier in that episode.
Yeah, you were disappointed that the radio station was kind of falling to pieces. But I really enjoyed the message of what that episode said was that everything changes and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Oh no, don't get me wrong. I love that episode, but I felt the sadness that Frasier felt because as a fan, I wanted to see that Cafe Nervosa set. That kind of broke my heart a little bit, but it doesn't surprise me that in an age of podcasts, which we don't make any money, but a lot of people do, that, radio shows aren't as popular now. A lot of people are doing podcasts instead. Honestly, that's probably one of my biggest complaints about Frasier being a professor is I thought it would have been perfect for him to have had a podcast.
Yeah,
that would have been my pitch if I had done the show. I'm listening. But no, that was the highlight of the season for me was probably that episode. But what my sadness was, I was like Frasier, everything's changed because I don't like change. I hate change. But we did get to see the old cast. We didn't get to see Kenny, but I think he had kind of left because didn't Roz take over Kenny's job?
Took his job, yeah.
We got to see Gil and then Bulldog, and probably one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard. Roz was like, I'm just going to, again, spoiler podcast, so jump to the next chapter for all two of you that might care about Frasier. Roz goes, guess who's finally out of the closet? And we all think it's Gil.
Yeah, right.
Because they always made all the jokes, which now you can debate if those jokes were a little too much. It was a different time back then. Were they, whatever. That's a whole other conversation. And then it's Bulldog. But he's still like our Bulldog, exactly the same. But I thought that was a pretty good bit.
It was a good bit, yeah.
And I liked how we got to hear Bulldog do that. This stinks. This is total BS.
Well, if they're going to bring Bulldog in, you gotta have a
rant.
That, so.
That's a rant.
Sure.
Bulldog does.
All right.
And then it ended, Frasier season 2 ended on another Christmas episode, just like season 1 ended on. And I'm always all about Christmas episodes. I am sad we didn't get to see Lilith back this season. I thought we would have seen her. Because I ultimately think that she is Frasier's endgame.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this show's just not going to be bringing in a lot of those other people.
But now he's dating Patricia Heaton's character. I don't know the name of her character. Do you?
I don't remember. She's the bartender lady at the restaurant or the hotel or something.
Something like that. Who knows?
Don't know.
I feel like, honestly, again, I'm going to just beat a dead horse at this point and talk to a brick wall. It's never going to feel the same without Niles.
No, for sure.
They did explain well, because that was my first question. I'm like, well, if he's back in Seattle, that's crap that we're not going to get to see Niles and Daphne. They explained that they live on a vineyard now. They moved from Seattle.
They're not in Seattle anymore.
Which makes me wonder because Seattle, to quote Niles, has world-class dining.
Well, they run a vineyard now.
Yeah, I hope we get a season 3, but I won't be heartbroken if we don't get it. And one other show we're going to briefly talk about because it airs tonight. The finale will be tonight. We have Dancing with the Stars. We are, thankfully, getting a 5-person finale. When I saw that it was going to be a 3-hour finale, I'm like, they better give us a 5-person. And then also... They had you. They did.
This episode, they got it down to the last 2 people.
I fell for it
Who
again.
was it? It was...
My Steven!
It was Steven and... Who else was it?
Steven and Chandler.
Steven and Chandler. And they were sitting there... No, it was Steven and
Alona.
Yeah, and they were sitting there and they went and the safe team is, and they did the whole delay, and you were sitting there
crying because I knew I thought it was Steven was going to be gone,
crying your eyes out.
I know how that Alona is killing it in votes, so I was like, well, crap, Steven's going to be gone.
And then they said everybody's going, and I was over
Just
there
like
I said that from the beginning.
Well, I thought because last year it was such a big surprise, it was a shock. I'm like, maybe they're not going to do that again. I'm like, and I've seen this show. It used to be, remember there used to be 2 awards night, it was a results show night. So they can fill a lot, you would think, in these Like, I think even with 5 people, we don't need to have a 3-hour-long finale.
No, we don't. That's
but
ridiculous.
Yes, that's why I was so upset, because when I saw it was down to those 2, I just know that based off of the stats that we're hearing, word on the street and fan votes, is that no one's even close to Alona's fan votes. So I thought we were going to lose Steven. And I'm a little annoyed that they gave him a cha-cha. They waited so long because I knew he would be bad at that dance. I wish he could have gotten it early in the season, because he was not great. It was not his best dance at all. And I'm like, well, I like to judge their growth as a collective. Apparently, people have the brain span of a moth, because there are a lot of haters, though. And they were like, oh, well, he's just regressed. I'm like, okay, there was one dance style that he wasn't great at, but he rebounded and his tango was fine. Justice for Steven. But I'm like, oh, crap. But yeah, they did have me. But thankfully, I mean, I can't imagine if they only had 4 couples, 3 hours. Even with all the old former couples returning.
They have 5 couples on a regular night. They started the season with 10 or 12 or something, and they didn't need 3 hours. So.
I remember back in the day, I think it was only like 3 couples that they had at the end. And that if you're not going to do 3, then I would rather just do 5 at that point. I think a lot of that might be, from what I've heard, is that Chandler, for some reason, who is the best dancer by far. Like, I think she is up here. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, but she's not pulling
But
votes.
I don't think she's pulling the fan votes, so that was a way to keep her in. I think they're all going to bring, because I've already read what songs they're going to do for freestyles, and let's just say that Danny is just heck bent on get me to vote for him, because he's going to do his freestyle to I'm Just Ken, and Whitney's choreography for that is going to be insane.
Yeah.
So he's just...
Still isn't going to make me like him.
Yeah, he is just absolute... And he is Ken. I think he even looks like Ryan Gosling. Like a brunette, don't you?
I've never really thought about it.
Well, he is just Ken. And I think they're playing into, like... There was a lot of TikToks going on about I'm Just Ken. So I think they're all going to have different freestyles. If I ranked them on talent, let me know if you agree. I would put Chandler way up high. Then I would put Joey. Then I'd have a big space. And I would probably put, I think they can be interchangeable. I think he's slightly better, though. Sorry, don't at me. I think collectively, which I had to explain on Reddit, means of all the dances all season, in terms of the movement and the content, even with some musicality issues, I think Steven is a little bit better than Alona. So then I'd put Steven maybe like a milliliter above Alona. Then I would put Alona and then Danny. That is how I would rank them. How would you rank the last ones? That doesn't mean that's not how I think's going to win. That's just how I personally would rank. Like, I think Chandler is the best.
A milliliter? We're rating by liquid volumes now? I agree with your rating.
Okay. I'm like, don't you want to wrap up this podcast soon? And now you're messing with me there. That being said, I think at this point, based upon everything I've read, that Alona's going to run away with it. If she doesn't win, I think Joey's going to win, because he also pulls a big fan base. But based upon what I've seen, I think that it's hers to lose.
Yeah, I think it's one of those two. I don't think there's any question. But especially when it comes to the way the judges are going to most likely rate. Like, everybody's going to be getting 9s and 10s.
Yeah,
last night,
they get a redemption dance and then a freestyle.
Unless somebody like really screws up bad, which is not very often does that happen. Everybody, the scores are going to be pretty close from the judges, so it's going to come down to the fan vote. And I think it's either going to be Alona or Joey, and I don't think there's any competition for the other 3.
And I was about to say, although the judging this season, it depends. It has been wildly inconsistent.
Oh, yes, it has been.
Insanely inconsistent. So if I'm the judges at this point, I'm just like, let the fans decide. And I do think of those 5, I would be okay with any of them winning for different reasons. We all know that the best dancer doesn't always win. And I think, like, if Alona does win, she has worked very hard. She has improved. So I think from that perspective, she's like, what is it? Like the people's champion. So I think it's not the same as when Bobby Bones won and didn't take the show seriously and never improved. I think Steven, like, he has a perfect attitude. I even think Danny, even though he doesn't move much and tosses Whitney about and everywhere, he's still been fun to watch. Joey obviously would deserve it from both perspectives. Chandler, clearly. Like, this is the first time I can tell you I'm not going to have a problem with any of them if any of them win.
I won't be happy if Danny wins.
But he is just Ken.
All right, everybody. Well, that's all we got for you this week. I hope everybody who is celebrating Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, has a good one.
And everybody make sure to wish Daniel a very happy 40th birthday.
Please don't. Just let me be in peace. And go in peace with you as well. Until next time.
May the force be with you.
Random.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.